Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311, and today we're discussing my VR game review process and why SteamVR Releases suck so much lately. After two highly anticipated VR games suffered poor releases on Steam, it's the perfect time to discuss this topic. Now there's a lot to unpack here, especially since reviews can be quite subjective, but by the end of this video, you should have a much better understanding of how I review games and what's going on with those SteamVR releases. As always, timestamps and links are in the description if you want to jump around, and let's not waste any more time and get right into this video, starting with my review process. I do not do formal reviews. I recently started a 1-minute VR review YouTube short series, but this is basically a quick overview and general recommendation. I'll tell you what a game is about and who I think will enjoy it, but 1 minute definitely isn't enough time to go into any serious detail or even cover the pros and cons of the game. Just know that I'm weighing out all these things before giving any type of recommendation. Sniper Elite VR is a perfect example. Did it have some control issues I neglected to mention? Yes. Did I still have a lot of fun playing this game even with those issues? Absolutely. Unfortunately though, in 1 minute I don't have the time to break down all of those issues or express why the game was so much fun. So you'll simply get a few blanket statements expressing which direction I am leaning in. The overall yay or nay. Now at this point, you're most likely thinking, well, why don't you just make longer reviews? First off, reviews were never really well received on this channel. They take a lot more time to produce, and I really do not have that extra time, and I'm currently experimenting with YouTube Shorts, which are limited to 1 minute. Again, this format is experimental, so I don't know if it's going to stay around or not, but I definitely enjoy making these videos. I also do an annual series where I rank every single game that I own. That list is now well over 100 games, and I continually modify those scores over time. These rankings are based on 3 factors. The first is the fun factor. It's a scale of 1 to 10 on how fun the game is to play. It doesn't matter if it has bugs, crappy graphics, all that matters is you enjoy playing the game. The second factor is the value. Now, I personally care about your wallet. When I was growing up, I couldn't afford a new game every single month, and I don't expect you to either. So if a game is only fun for a few hours, it's much harder for me to recommend. Replayability, user-generated content, and free games are the king of this category. And the final review factor is the overall quality. Just like the fun factor, this can be quite subjective, but the score here is based on the amount of overall polish, lack of bugs, the graphics, level design, audio quality, etc. So based on this scoring system, let me give you an example with Sniper Elite VR. Overall, the fun factor was quite high for me, and I can easily score this around an 8, maybe all the way to an 8.5. Value-wise, with a 7-hour campaign for only $30, that's a lot more than we normally get in a VR title. Remember, it's common to spend $30 for 3 hours or less. So again, in this category, we'd score around an 8. And finally, when evaluating quality, obviously we know this game released with some bugs and some control issues. Some people could not get past the controller offset, and there were a few questionable design choices. Polish-wise, we're looking at something like a 6, 6.5. When we average these scores together, we're around a 7.5 to an 8.0, which is a good score, especially if you are a fan of this genre. We also need to keep in mind the game's competition. For the Oculus Quest, there are very few single-player shooters, and Sniper Elite far exceeds other titles like Warhammer 40k Battle Sister and Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. For PC VR, the competition is much more fierce. We have games like Half-Life Alyx, Vertigo Remastered, Boneworks, so we end up having to score these games on a curve. And that's the next topic I want to get into, the Oculus Quest review score curve. Titles that release on both the Oculus Quest and PC VR are generally much more well received on the Quest rather than their PC counterpart. This is a combination of 2 factors. Competition and expectations are lower for the Quest, and developers are prioritizing the Quest because it's the larger platform. So this is why SteamVR releases are starting to suck. I've previously discussed the impact of the Oculus Quest on VR and how it reset and even ruined games for right now. A VR game that releases for PC VR only generally will not be very profitable for a developer, and a cross-platform game is generally lower quality compared to previous PC VR exclusive titles. There is only so much you can do with the hardware inside the Oculus Quest. and the PC VR community is really feeling that right now. Unfortunately though, this is the new norm, and the issue is being compounded by poor SteamVR releases. Obviously, developers will prioritize the largest platform, but at this point, it almost feels like something sinister is going on with SteamVR releases. The Steam version of Medal of Honor Above and Beyond had horrible performance on high-end PCs and even crashing issues. Larcenauts was completely unplayable, suffering from a screen shake issue and an inability to properly hold your weapons. Now, adding fuel to the purposely nerfed Steam version conspiracy theory is the fact that the Oculus PC VR version of these games ran fine. In fact, running Larcenauts with Revive was almost perfect on a Valve Index, yet the Steam VR version was unplayable. It's a really sad state for Steam VR to be in, and while I doubt it's intentional, the Steam PC VR community is definitely getting shafted. So with such a disparity in titles, how should we rank these games? Unfortunately, at this point, I think we're forced to give two separate scores. Again though, I don't always have access to the game on each platform, so the best I can do is let you know my experience with each platform and how they score respectively. Based on what I've said previously, this does introduce a bit of an upward curve for Quest games, and I'm gonna once again use Sniper Elite as an example. For the Oculus Quest, it's one of the best shooters out there, and this easily pushes the score up to an 8.5. For PC VR, on the other hand, it's fun, but there are definitely better options out there. If you've played through everything else and love single-player VR shooters, I would still recommend this game, but compared to its competition, the score is brought down to a 7, maybe as high as an 8. In the rare case that I've completely played through a game on multiple platforms and found the experience to be fairly similar, I would split the difference between those scores. But if you only play PC VR titles, I think it's time for you to start curbing your expectations for multi-platform VR titles. This is what you should expect going forward. Limited world interaction. Your hand is going to swipe through objects. There will be a minimal implementation of physics, if any. Graphics will be pretty bland, especially compared to PC VR exclusives, and any melee implementation will be lackluster, unless of course it's a melee-focused game. We used to get high-quality PC VR games with the occasional miracle port to the Oculus Quest. A great example is The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. Now though, VR games are developed multi-platform, with an emphasis on Quest and PC VR being the afterthought. Now if you only play PC VR titles, don't get too upset. VR games will improve again over time. And let's hope the trend of broken Steam VR releases comes to an end, because honestly, I don't understand what's going on here. The issues I've previously mentioned on games like Medal of Honor, Larcenauts, and Sniper Elite were blatantly obvious. A minimal amount of QA should have flagged these not ready for release. And these issues are generally patched within a few days, so there is absolutely no excuse. So for the PC VR gamers out there who have been supporting VR for years, I understand if you are a bit jaded. But again, I'm extremely positive for the future of VR, and going forward when I do any reviews, I'll make sure to let you know if the game is receiving an Oculus Quest review score curve. Okay everybody, that was today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. If you have any questions on this topic, I'm all ears. And as always, I will see you guys on next time.